Welcome, young achievers. Let's lock your exam upcoming on 11th of March, CBSE English exam. Now, today we'll be doing the lesson chapter 2 from your Flamingo textbook, Lost Spring. This is one of the chapters that I really like. It talks about how it actually instills humanity in you when you read about the perpetual poverty in the lives of kids who have no hope left in life, who have no absolutely, you know. Just a bleak future. They survive in a bleak future, and they are so accustomed to it that they don't find anything odd about the situation that they are in. So I would take up this lesson, chapter 2, by Anees Jung, Lost Spring. Now, before I begin, there are a lot of symbolism involved in this chapter, beginning from the title itself. Now, when I talk of the chapters, when I talk of the concept of spring, spring is actually the season of bloom, the season of vitality, youth, vigor, and growth, rejuvenation. However, the title says lost spring. So spring is something that's has been missing from the lives of all these kids who represent people living in utmost poverty. They do not have basic means of survival. They just are accustomed, prone to their dingy cells and a bleak future. Now, symbolism, understand this concept. Spring symbolizes youth, vitality, growth, rejuvenation. Now, that spring is missing from kids like Saheb and Mukesh. The title Lost Spring carries deep symbolic meaning, reflecting the themes of childhood deprivation, lost innocence, and shattered dreams in the lives of poor children forced into labor. The title Lost Spring symbolizes the loss of childhood, innocence, and dreams of underprivileged children forced into labor, much like spring, which represents youth and growth. But it is taken away too soon. It highlights the stark contrast between beauty and suffering as seen in the rag pickers of Simapuri and bangle makers of Firozabad, trapped in relentless cycle of poverty and exploitation. So they are not only poor, but they are also, that poverty is also exploited by a lot of forces involved in their lives: the government, the political power in vogue. So they are deprived by the middlemen, the bureaucrats, the sahukars, money lenders. So all these people who act as forces of exploitation in the lives of these people like Sahib and Mukesh. So it talks about child labor, shattered dreams. The story has two excerpts, two short stories. One talks of Sahib. Sahib is somebody who resides in the outskirts of Delhi, a place called Simapuri. Now, thousands of squatters live here. These people are the migrants from Bangladesh. They had green fields, but their fields gave them no food. So they decided to move to a place wherein they would. Wherein at least they could hold their body and soul together. So they migrated, looking for gold in places like India. So they illegally migrated and they settled down in places like Simapuri, one such place where a lot of people who've migrated have settled down, and the means of survival are not very nice, not very hopeful. However, they have grown accustomed to situations like this. So and the other story is of Mukesh. Mukesh is a resident of Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh, and now he, this place is known for bangle making. So families after families, generation after generation is involved in the absolutely mind numbing task of making bangles. No profit, no return. This is what they do, and this is what they pass as lineage to the next generation. So we talk about part 1. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Now imagine this is a kind of a representation in the of the place wherein these people live and try to survive. The narrator, that is Anees Jung, she plays a major role. She is the one who talks to these representatives of child labor. So she meets Sahib, a young rag picker in Delhi. Sahib's family migrated from Dhaka due to storms that destroyed their fields. He reaches for gold in garbage, which symbolizes hope, and survival. Now, how we read this chapter is we try to symbolize commodities that's mentioned. So, garbage for them is gold. How? Because garbage helps them to find you know, garbage helps them to earn money by selling it off. So it's like a hope for them. For kids, it is wrapped in wonder because they do not know what they are doing. They scrounge through the garbage. Sometimes they find a rupee, sometimes a 10 rupee note, which is, you know, a very big luxury for them. So once they have found it, they never stop looking. So it's a hope for of finding something out of those clutter. The narrator suggests that he should go to school, but there isn't one nearby. His name is Saheb Alam. Now imagine a kid like a rag picker, somebody who probably looks like this, older in age. A rag picker, his name meaning Sahib Alam. Now, Sahib Alam meaning Lord of the Universe. His name means Lord of the Universe. However, he is just a rag picker, so that name is ironic. Whereas he was supposed to be the Lord of Universe, but what he's given, the task that he's performing right now, he is just a rag picker, so that name is ironic. Now we talk of the children in Simapuri are barefoot not due to lack of money but due to a tradition of poverty. I mean, they have been living in this poverty for so many years now that it's now become a tradition to be barefoot. And shoes for them again symbolizes luxury, privilege, something that they cannot afford, they do not have. Simapuri on Delhi's periphery houses thousands of rag pickers in extreme poverty. Just how it looks like, this is how they live, this is how they survive. For children, garbage is wrapped in wonder, while for adults it's a means of survival. So you know, they find garbage, they sell it off, they earn money. For kids it is wrapped in wonder because it's they do not understand what they're doing. They keep scrounging for something to find out. It's a game that they have taken up to playing. Sahib later gets a job at the tea stall but loses his freedom in the process. So Sahib, as the excerpt one ends, it talks about how Sahib has now gotten a job at the tea stall which gives him 800 rupees and, you know, his meals. However, he's not happy because with the garbage, with the rag bag, he got freedom, and he was kind of happy because it was a fun thing to do with the kids of his age. Now the steel canister again symbolizes the responsibilities that's thrust upon him, that he's supposed to do regardless of the fact that he likes it or not. कमिंग टू पार्ट टू में हम बात करेंगे मुकेश की. मुकेश इज वन ऑफ दोज बैंगल मेकर्स हु आर एक्सप्लॉइटेड बाय अ लॉट ऑफ फोर्सेस इंक्लूडिंग द मिडलमैन, साहूकार्स, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, पॉलिटिशियंस, पुलिसमैन. तो ये सारे लोग मिलके इनको एक्सप्लॉइट करते हैं. दे आर इन्वॉल्व्ड इन माइंड नंबिंग टॉयल, लाइक एब्सोल्युटली it has it's just effort that they are putting in. They do not get anything in return, and you know, they put in a lot of effort. They hurt themselves in the process of making bangles. They do not have proper conditions to work, and the work that's put in is massive. However, the return that they are getting is absolutely nothing to how they had put in the effort. So why is that happening? Because a lot of middlemen are involved who you know, take their work and sell it, take these bangles, sell it off at higher prices, and a portion that these people get are very, very low. Yet they continue to do that because they do not have any leader amongst them. They do not have any body who's educated to understand what is going on. So they continue to live and thrive uh, in a way that, you know, there's this lady that's mentioned in part 2 of this chapter. She says that it is our karam, it is our destiny. Ek waqt ser bhar khana bhi nahi khaya, meaning they have not had a proper meal, but then this is what is given to them as a lineage. You know, it's she thinks that it is thrust upon them by God, and who can break the God given lineage. Okay, so Mukesh's dream is to become a motor mechanic. Unlike Sahib, who is who has, accepted his fate and destiny. Mukesh has a dream. He wants to be a motor mechanic, although lived and survived much, a small part of his life in this place wherein they are people are continuously involved in bangle making. He still has a dream, so he has a determination, he has an ambition. Firozabad is filled with families engaged in glass work for generations. Child labor in dingy, airless rooms leads to blindness and health issue. Obviously, when they are working in a place which is enclosed, and they're working in dark rooms, dark, with in front of hot furnaces, there are high chances that they lose their eyesight. They become victims of health issues. However, they do not have a choice. The bangle making industry exploits generations due to caste system and middlemen. Mukesh's grandmother believes it in destiny, that one born in the caste must continue the family tradition. So, imagine people not being educated enough to understand that they do have a choice. They do have, if they could hope for a better future, they could organize themselves into cooperatives. However, there's no leader who's present here to lead this whole tribe ahead. The vicious circle of poverty, caste, and exploitation prevents change. Mukesh dares to dream, but within limitations. When asked if he dreams of flying a plane, he remains silent. He knows that that's completely out of his reach. That is an immensely large dream that he that has never figured out or appeared in his mind. So he's just seen a car, few cars. Cars run through the lanes of Firozabad, but only few planes fly. Is what he is seen of. So he does not want to become a pilot. He rather wants to have a dream that's achievable. Okay. Now, literary devices in this chapter, metaphor. The line says, "Garbage to them is gold," meaning what? Garbage is gold. Comparing two things without the use of as and like. So I'm not saying garbage is like gold, or garbage is as gold to them. I'm saying garbage is gold to them, meaning it's a source of their livelihood. It is that something that sustains them. So that is what it is. Web of poverty. Poverty is a trap, inescapable, like the spider's web. So web of poverty surrounds them. Irony. Irony, as I said, Sahib Alam, his name means, it's very ironical. His name means Lord of the Universe. However, he is merely a rag picker. So that's the irony. Simile. Simile, as her hands move mechanically like the tongues of machine. So I am talking about the girl's hand moving like the tongues of machine. Comparison using as and like becomes your simile. Hyperbole, rag picking has acquired the proportion of fine art. Now imagine, rag picking has become a fine art. They have been involved for generations and for so many years now that it's now a survival skill. It's now something that they are very good at doing. Symbolism. Shoes symbolize privilege. It's a symbol of economic stability and dignity. Bangles are symbolic to represent tradition and marriage sanctity, but also bondage and suffering. So, it's not. It does symbolize marriage in Indian society. However, it also comes with restrictions, bondage, and sufferings. Paradox, contrasting two ideas. Few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad, a metaphor for lack of dreams. Planes represents aspirations, but the people are stuck in generational poverty. So paradox, I'm talking about two contrasting ideas. Few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad. Firstly, few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad. For sound is very recurring. That becomes your alliteration as well. Having two contradictory situations, wherein I'm talking about aeroplanes flying over Firozabad, only few of them fly, so that's paradoxical. Okay, now I talk about the setting of these two places. Firstly, Simapuri, it's on the periphery, outskirts of Delhi. And there's this line that says, yet on the periphery of Delhi, but still miles away from it. Meaning what? Delhi is a place of, it's a metro city, it's a place of modernization and, high achievements, ambition. However, Simapuri is in sharp contrast to a place like Delhi. Although being a part of Delhi, it's still I mean, being in the outskirts of Delhi, it's still miles away from it in a way that it's not modernized. It looks something like this. So filled with mud houses, tin roofs, no sewage system, rag picking is the main survival activity. Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh, the center of India's glass blowing industry, houses families engaged in making glass bangles, dark, airless rooms where children and adults work without proper light. So, this is how it looks like, something like this. They crush the glass, they have this whole process of melting, smelting, making bangles out of it in hot furnaces. So, this is what they are involved in doing. Both very, very dark and very, very unhappy and a sad picture. Now, talking about the two characters, Saheb first. Saheb is a rag picker. In the beginning, we meet him as a cheerful kid who does not mind collecting rags. He and his group, they are compared to the people who compared to the barefoot boys, an army of barefoot boys who appear in the morning and disappear at the noon. So army of barefoot boys again becomes your hyperbole. These 4 5 kids are described as the army of barefoot boys. Saheb is a rag picker in Simapuri who scavenges garbage for living. Originally, his family has come from Dhaka. His family migrated after natural disasters. Their fields couldn't give them any grains. So, innocent, he's innocent. How do you know? Because, when the author promises that, she would build a school, she mentions if she builds a school, would he like to come? So he's innocent enough to believe it because later he goes to her asking if the school is built yet. So that's how you know he's innocent. Innocent, yet disillusioned. His dreams of school, but no, he dreams of school, but knows it's an empty promise. Initially carefree, but his spirit is crushed when he starts to go to work at the tea stall, and it symbolizes child labor and lost dreams. So his dreams are lost. So, and when we talk about Mukesh, is somebody who is a boy with a dream, a boy from Firozabad who aspires to be motor mechanic, different from his family, wants to break the cycle of bangle making. Determined but still limited by his circumstances, he dreams of cars but not planes. He symbolizes hope and resilience in the world of oppression. So one symbolizes, whereas Saheb symbolizes child labor and lost dreams, Mukesh symbolizes hope and resilience. Now we talk about keywords and their explanation in this chapter. Rag picking, scavenging for recyclable waste, a means of survival for these rag pickers. Gold in garbage, a metaphor for hope. Gold, garbage to them is gold, so it is a symbol, a metaphor for hope, as finding coins in the garbage brings momentary joy. Perpetual poverty, पहला alliteration है per sound. Perpetual poverty, this is never ending poverty that we are talking about. Constant poverty, there is no breaking free from the poverty that they live in. Simapuri is the slum on the outskirts of Delhi where migrants live in squalor. Squalor is dirt, filth, garbage. Firozabad, the bangle industry hub where child labor is rampant again. Simapuri rag picking ke liye we are discussing Firozabad for the bangle making. So Firozabad is the bangle making industry where child labor is rampant. Shoes are a symbol of privilege, wealth, dignity, and aspirations. They cannot afford shoes, so they do not have shoes. If at all, some rich kid discards his shoe and then they are able to wear shoes with holes, even that is a dream come true for them. Bangles, they represent Indian culture. They represent sanctity of marriage. They also represent bondage and suffering. Web of poverty, metaphor for inescapable hardship. Then we talk of middlemen, those who exploit the workers in Firozabad. These are bureaucrats, policemen, middlemen, sahukars, money, sahukars. So all these four, five things, politicians, these four, five terms you will have to memorize. Destiny, a belief that people must accept their fate and not dream. Karam is how this old woman mentions. So it's a belief as per the old woman, not for the other characters, that people must accept their fate. Citations from the chapter. Food is more important for survival than an identity. This is mentioned in the Saheb context, wherein they have their ration card, they can vote, and they in return they get some basic amount of food. And here they are not looking for identity. किसके लिए important होता है? The one who's established. So उसके लिए that person looks for identity. You and I would look for identity, not somebody living in the garbage, because for them food is more important, food is a priority and not identity. Rag picking has acquired the proportions of a fine art. They have been living in squalor for so long now that the mind, the never ending toil and the never ending scavenging through the squalor has made them skilled enough to work through it. So it's become an art now. It's an exaggeration, hyperbole, but this is what it is. Sahib's loss of freedom. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulders. So the plastic bag was a symbol of, the rag bag was a symbol of freedom, but the steel canister becomes a symbol of responsibility that's thrust upon him. Firozabad's exploitation, year of mind-numbing toil have killed all initiatives and ability to dream. Yet, माइंड नंबिंग, कोई आउटपुट का कुछ भी वैल्यू नहीं है. दे आर जस्ट कॉन्स्टेंटली वर्किंग फॉर लॉर्ड नोज व्हाट, एंड इट्स माइंड नंबिंग, yet they are working just to keep their body and soul together. So this is what's mentioned in your chapter. uh Thank you. Any doubt, please let me know. I think I've covered most of the important topics. There are characters mentioned. We have a mention of Udipi and how these Brahmin kids would go and pray in front of God that let them have shoes. So as the time passed, the Brahmin kids could afford shoes, but not people like the rag pickers. Meaning to say that, because of the caste system, the Brahmins progressed a little wherein they could afford shoes, but these kids like the rag pickers, they have lived in the utmost poverty and squalor. So that's what mentioned in part one. Part one also mentions Sahib watching the game of tennis. Now tennis is again, that game becomes a privilege for him, luxury beyond his achievement, beyond his attainment. So it's just something that he can watch and never be a part of. So he knows that, and the steel canister is thrust upon him as a responsibility. Part 2 mentions how Mukesh takes the author to his house, and how there's this young girl who has attained the status of a bahu, and she cooks for the family. The family has Mukesh's elder brother and his father and mother, and there's this young lady who believes in Karam, old lady, sorry, you old lady, believing in the destiny and saying that it is what it is and they have to accept their fate. So then we talk about Savita, who's wearing the bangle and who's involved in bangle making, and the author says, she's forced to assume whether she knows what these bangles symbolize. So they symbolize bondage, they symbolize Indian tradition, they symbolize marital life. So however, these people have accepted their fate. So it is the two different similarities between these two characters. They are belong to the extremely lower strata of class. They are poor, poverty stricken. They have been living in perpetual poverty. Difference kya hai? Whereas Sahib is accustomed to his destiny, has made peace with his circumstances. Mukesh is somebody with dreams and with ambitions. So his dream of becoming a motor mechanic symbolizes hope and resilience and breaking free from the the existing norm. So I have covered, as per me, all the keywords, all the important topics, citations, and their explanation. In case you do not understand it, please let me know. That's it. Bye bye. Have a nice day.